Hello, everybody. October 8th it is. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi coming to you live as we do every 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern to take your questions live about U.S. immigration law. I know it's confusing. It's not intended for individual legal guidance. You got to have a private conversation about that. Just too much to talk about. But we get general kind of stuff here. So we have a better idea understanding what's going on, what topics are happening, because it's a pretty convoluted area of law. So we're here to help you with that. If you have questions, shoot it out. Again, we're not into giving individual legal guidance, but we're doing well. And importantly, if you get contacted by someone who says they're me on Facebook, on WhatsApp, it's not me. We don't solicit requests for work and stuff. You'll contact us. And you're always going to, if you're going to pay us for a case to actually do a case, or even a consultation, we're going to have a live video consultation or before we accept any case. You're going to be talking to me in person. So if you have a situation where someone's calling you saying they're me, send money, all that kind of stuff, the context usually it's Pakistani Indian couples who want to expedite their case. That's how the fraud is usually happening right now. Please know it's not me. Please don't pay them. I've tried everything I can to shut them down. It's just as soon as you get them off Facebook, they pop up again. It's just the way it is. So please be wise. Do your research first before paying somebody. Tom says, good afternoon. I have my I-751 and 400 interview tomorrow, scheduled November 8 tips. Just be prepared. Joint documents, make sure N400 was correct, I-751 is correct, your spouse comes with you. The rest of that then gets more specific. I look into your case and try to spot any red flags that need to focus on. That's what we get into there. But hey, we're here live on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, various YouTube pages we have. If you're on TikTok, you want to try to get your question answered, it's better you join us on the YouTube page, Immigration Talk or U.S. Immigration Talk or JQK Law Firm to find us because it's easier to keep track of who's coming on over there on those different social media sites, YouTube. You're welcome, Toma. And my cousin's name is Toma. Having said that, there's one more thing I wanted to mention. But hey, things will pop up as things are going. Just shoot out your questions. We're here to help out. Immigration job. Oh yeah, if you want to contact us privately, go to our website, jqklaw.com/contact. So jqklaw.com is a website. Have a slash and contact. You fill in some basic information. So primarily, we want to see if it's even something we handle. If you contact us about asylum or court cases and stuff like that, we don't do those. So we just tell you, hey, we can't help you. That's the easiest way to get it in and out. Having said that, we await your questions. We're coming a little late today, so people are just tuning in. Updates on immigration. They did this new thing they're starting out for I-765 work permit cases for certain types of cases, like 4 or 5 subtypes. They can say fill out the forms and then send us a PDF of the form instead of mailing it in, which is neat, interesting. That's new, and hopefully it works well to try to digitize all the different programs USCIS has. Because I still do hate doing online stuff with them because it's not reliable. Having said that, it saves a lot of paper and a lot of postage and a lot of hassle having to print it out and mail it. So the online system has certain amounts of great inefficiencies. So it's interesting that they're doing that. All right, we have some questions. Mind Your Biz says, what's your thoughts on PIP prevailing, and what about DACA? Do you think it'll be brought down? I don't speculate. I just wait for the courts to do what they're going to do. We just work with what we have right now. If you have a parole in place case for keeping family together, you got to look into whether it's a good idea to submit it or not. And then if so, do it and hope for the best because it's a game changer. It'll help you avoid having to do a 601A waiver. So that's really good. Thank you for joining on TikTok. Got a bunch of people just joined in. Okay, sir, can I inbox you a question? You can either ask it here or you can go to jqklaw.com/contact, try to schedule a consultation. We don't give private answers to people outside of this because then it looks like we're representing you and if we get deep into your case and everything like that. So either a full consultation needed or generally just ask it here and we give a general answer. How long is VAWA takes to approve? It can take many years. Unfortunately, they're backed up. Steven says, will my wife be able to stay in the U.S. while we wait for marriage green card app to be approved? If you have a properly submitted Form I-485 adjustment of status that was timely filed and is good, your wife can stay here while the case is pending. Mind Your Biz says, we have an I-618 waiver out already, but it's only been 8-9 months. Yeah, they're getting faster. Some attorneys are saying they're getting the 618s approved in like 6 months, a year and a half, but a lot of them are taking 2 or 3 years. But if you had a Keeping Families Together PIP case pending Mind Your Business, that could just solve it. Because we have a couple of I-6 that are pending for 2 years, but if the PIP goes through, they just throw that away and adjust status. So I would seriously look into that to avoid having to do constant processing, even if the 618 is approved. MK says, if you could do a PIP case. MK says, which one is the best, fiance visa or marriage green card? How long is it going to take the MC in Germany? I'm not sure how the MC in Germany is going to take. Which one's the best? Usually marriage is better, but best depends on what your criteria are. Do you want to get your fiance here like 2 months faster? Okay, but do you want to spend $2,000 to $5,000 more? Okay. You want to not have a work permit if they're here on a fiance visa, or maybe it doesn't matter if they're here without a work permit after they arrive. So there's different factors that come into play on this. Some people don't want to get married yet. They want them to come, the fiance come here, live with them a few months, then get married. So best is in the eye of the beholder. What is your need? Now we find 9 out of 10 times marriage, but I can't tell you that because you might be 1 out of the 10 cases where it's better to do fiance. I got detailed videos on this MK on YouTube. You just type in, you know, type in JQK law, U.S. immigration talk, and then fiance visa versus marriage. I have a detailed video of 10 talking points on it. Mind your business. We have it all good. Good. Wish you the best. Hopefully the law passes and you can get it all going. Double O says, I got arrested and case got dismissed. Who it? I'm not sure what you're saying, but you have to have all the records for that for immigration because you have to document it with the immigration department. Okay, let's see really quick. Any questions here? What's going on YouTube? What's happening? All right. Steven says, what evidence is strongest for marriage green card application? You have children together, you own property together, house, car, everything like that, or you have joint leases, you have bank accounts with lots of money in it together, you have insurances that should cover each other on car, health, life insurance. You have a lot of travel records together, you have pictures together of different places in the world, letters from family and friends, gift cards you've mailed to each other, you have copies of, gifts you've sent to each other, you have documented. You went to Disneyland, you have tickets that have each your name, so you go on trips together like that. Really, it's all these different kind of things. Look at your life, a typical life is. Mine says, we filed 601A, filed PIP the first week and have DACA, hoping something come through. Yeah, one note is, if your parole in place is approved, you can't renew DACA after that. It's a weird thing they did. So be mindful that if you're working on DACA and you need to renew it, you won't be able to renew it if PIP is approved. Now, PIP, KFT, Keeping Families Together version of parole in place does allow you to file for a work permit. So, but it may not be worth it because as soon as it's approved, you just file for adjustment of status, apply for work permit with adjustment of status. YouTube, which is not typical. Is my internet having bad? What's going on? This internet is just the worst times it goes back. Well, I got arrested and got case dismissed without pleading guilty. Will it be easy to renew my F1 visa? No, it won't be. Unfortunately, you probably had your F1 visa voided by the embassy if they find out, and it's they still hassle you about that. Unfortunately, MK, I want to be faster. I'm not sure what MK was asking first. So I lose track of who asked these questions. Okay. Brian says, I'm on DACA since 15. I'm employed and not married and only younger siblings. Any route for a green card? Well, if you've been on DACA since 15, that means you have not accumulated unlawful presence days. So if you get an employment-based case and you leave the U.S., or maybe you win the green card lottery and you leave the U.S., potentially you do consular processing, you're back in. There's risk lottery, that kind of stuff. Sorry, my internet is getting cut out when it comes to YouTube. Hippie Priest asks, what does National Visa Center look at while processing IR1 cases, I-130, or have their own record systems? National Visa Center is primarily intended to organize the documents that you send them. So they're going to look at the DS-260 that is completed, which the computer does that. They don't really look at that. They primarily look at the civil documents to make sure they meet the minimum standards, and also your affidavit of support to see if they meet the minimum standards. So I-864, the joint documents, marriage, birth certificate, passports, that kind of stuff. Third says, green card holder marriage to asylum pending person. What do I do? Green card holder marriage to asylum pending person. I don't know. It's not good. Hopefully your spouse will become a citizen, and that'll solve it. Maria says, case is now at the National Visa Center. Have to get pardoned before I submit documents. I think you mean a waiver. Yeah, you got to keep. So if it's a waiver-based case, you got to do that. Then yeah. But I'm not sure if you need a waiver or not. What the situation with that is. I got to make a note to myself. One thing is when you have a case that's a 601 waiver or 601A waiver, they send the case to NBC. NBC should just keep the case alive, but they might mistakenly close it. And I have one case of mine that I got to fight them on. They have proved that they're like not giving us back the fees, which they should. So we're challenging them, and I'm waiting for their decision. It's been like 2 weeks. So I got to follow up with them. Let's see, write down for myself. Note money from NBC. The government is just being annoying. All right. Assad says, how long does it take for initial interviews? 3 months to a year and a half, or maybe longer. Double O, I already answered that question multiple times. Mine is correct. Antonio says, any updates with Biden program? Nothing particular. Nothing I could say. Uh, Mine says, I only filed for PIP because I would qualify for AOS. Yeah, that's the way to go. Avoid 601A. Bradley, can you apply for visa if you have a business? Potentially. I mean, there's not enough information what you're saying. What do you mean you have a business? Is it abroad in the US States? Is it valid? How much did you invest? What kind of work it is? What kind of business? Like just that sentence doesn't really help out. To go deeper into it. Hippie Priest follows up. What does a DQ actually mean if someone's DQ gets hold of NBC? DQ stands for documentarily qualified. It means that you met the minimum documentary standards for the National Visa Center to move your case forward to the U.S. Embassy so they schedule an interview. Because they won't schedule an interview for the most part until you get all the paper. So the point of the National Visa Center is to do an initial review of your paperwork to avoid the embassy having to do that. So it streamlines the embassy processing. That's what it is. It's initial review by them. Now, sometimes you can bypass the NVC if needed, depending on certain situations, but that's what it means. Sarah says, for Child Status Protection Act, for IR2 cases, typically how much time does it take after studying the I-130 to freeze the beneficiary's age? I'm currently 20 years old. I'm trying to delay as much as possible. So for an IR2, if it's a child of a U.S. citizen, essentially it freezes at the time of the filing of the I-130 case. The main issue then is acting on it. So the NVC, so within 1 year of the case being approved, you just got to submit the NVC paperwork. So for immediate relative cases, it freezes upon I-130. My internet, I hope you're hearing me. So you file the I-130, you're locked in, do the NVC stuff, and then once the NVC stuff is, you pay the NVC fee, you submit a DS-260, I-64, then you can keep pushing back the case and rescheduling interviews even. Out. But depending on when you're going to study, and you might as well get the visa, come to the U.S., get the green card, and then maybe finish up your studying. So this best is to strategy-wise schedule a consultation so we can talk about it to make sure you're just doing it the right way, the best way possible. Tyrone says, if my mom filed I-130 for me in the past and I was issued a temporary SSN, should I put out my new I-130 and my wife? It doesn't really matter. The same number should stay. So if you have it, put it. If you don't, you're the beneficiary. It doesn't really matter. MK says, I have a marriage back home, but I want a divorce. So should I go to court in the U.S. or back home? You should consult with a family attorney about that in your state. It's not an immigration thing we talk about. It's Tori says, can someone get approved for the CB1 application for resident of Mexico? I don't deal with CB1 app asylum, so I don't want to comment on that. Stone says, is it normal for USCIS to send you in a notice in the mail that they're reviewing your case? The receipt notice, I'm not sure what notice you got. Sarah says, our consultations with you personally, most of the time, for what you're looking for, yeah. HitBP says, can NBC see case pending at the USCIS, or can they only look at the side of the data? The NBC is not going to bother looking at USCIS stuff. So when they get any paperwork, then they start working on it. There's no point in them looking into USCIS data. It doesn't make any sense. Paulie says, I moved to another state and to change my address. My lawyer said he doesn't know if my case has been transferred or not. Do you have any idea how to check? Call them. That's the only way. Dylan says, my NBC thinks got accepted and transferred to Iraq. Asked me to upload another document. How long usually takes to get accepted? It's not clear how long it's going to take. It's just however long it takes them. Tyrone says, how long does consular processing take average for Canadian? Probably 8 to 10 months once you're DQ'd. Maybe longer. Montreal is kind of being slow for a couple years now. Something weird letter says, I'm a Muslim. I married my wife legally and I applied for her, but we still didn't sleep together. Is it okay? They say, yeah, it's okay. They're not going to ask you about that. Thoreen says, my asylum case has been pending for 8 years now. What should I do? If we really want to push it, sue the government for delay or just wait longer. Paulie says, is it a problem to apply for the green card lottery if I'm waiting for my green card through marriage? There's not a problem, but I mean, you could if you want to see what happens. I mean, typically you're going to get the green card marriage. Why not? But yeah, you could if you want. Now you have to match the rest of the background. I know more about your case, but yeah, it's possible. Terrell says, how long does consular processing answer that question? Bradley says, can you get a visa if you own a business? So I answer that question where it's just not information. It's Tori. I answer that. Myron says, would it be risky to file 589 with generic info as it's hard to bring info and then provide more in the interview? So I-589 is the asylum application. We don't do asylum. Some lawyers do file a generic application because there's a deadline for filing the case, so you do it. I generally don't like sending just generic stuff. I have some fine tuning, but sometimes, especially if there's a deadline coming, you got to do what you got to do. But we don't do asylum, so I don't want to really comment on that too much. Justin says, one applied for asylum, get married, get green card through marriage. Can they return to home country? You're technically not supposed to return to home country. They don't really enforce it, but you're not really supposed to use the protections of your home country, like your passport or potentially going there. But in practice, it's not enforced, especially after you get a green card or after you get citizenship. How long after should I marry after entering the U.S.? Whenever you want to get married. Ideally, it's not too soon, but I can't really advise you how to like bypass the law. But the idea I think they're trying to get at is if you come in with a tourist visa and you get married quickly, does it look like you're doing fraud? I mean, people come in to get married, that's not a deal, but usually we just say wait 60 or 90. Well, if you contact information, not case specific. Bobo says, sir, how about if you get approved from SIJS? We don't do SIJS, so I don't want to talk about that. Stone says, is it normal for USCIS to send you a notice in the mail that they'll review your VAWA, which was filled? We don't do VAWA. I mean, I have a lawyer that does it, but I don't do it, so I don't. Again, it's another case that I don't do myself, so I don't want to talk about. I don't really want to give information to have like the best ones. If I'm not doing something regularly myself, I don't want to talk about it. Evie says, how long does it take after you send your file to USCIS through your lockbox? How long does what take? The receipt should be a week or two. MK says, I have a marriage back home. I've answered your question already. Please stop asking the same question. Double O as well. Please stop asking the same question. Myron, I already answered your question. Simpa, my S is not approved. Oh boy. Would you offer any consultation on that case if there's still a chance to get a visa? Well, we got to see why your SO is not approved. You can do a consultation, but there's always a chance to get a visa, but we have to see why the SO is not approved. Did you visit Iran, Iraq, or Sudan last couple months? Do you have arrest or criminal history? Did you have a work violation? Did you work with authorization last time you came? Those are the typical reasons why you shut it off. What's going on? Ahmed says, my fiance broke residency till January 2021, and since that date till now, she is resident in the United States. Can she apply for naturalization for her one day her father's I got to see how bad breaking residency was. Should give it a shot. I usually want to wait 4 years, 6 months in one day instead of 4 years in one day. To me, it's an unwritten rule for that. But I can't advise. I got to talk to see what the whole situation is, how long they were out, why they were out, what their attachments to the U.S. were during that time. Sarah says, can I do J1 internship in the U.S. after filing IR2, I-130, or is it not advised? You could apply. I'm not sure if they're going to approve it or not, but you give it a shot. There's a good chance they're going to deny it for immigrant intent. And potentially you might get stuck with a 2-year home residency requirement. That'll really mess you up. The 2-year home residency requirement doesn't apply to you. Mike Kev says, if USCIS charge the I-485 money, how long does it take to get the receipt number? A week later, usually. It could be longer. Santoshi says, I'm a U.S. citizen. My parents live in Pakistan. Can I apply PR? How long does it take to get the process? So you can apply for your parents. Pakistan, and even after the interview, it might take a while to actually get the green card. So for Pakistani case, easily looking 3 years, unfortunately. A year to get like the I-130 approved, a year in some months to get a year and a half, let's say, to get an interview, and then potentially another 6 months or more after that to get the case approved after the interview. So it's terrible. If they're in the United States visiting you, though, with a tourist visa, they can just do adjustment status and the solves everything. But I can't advise you to do that. But they're here already, just do that. EISV says, how long is I-751 taking now? 6 months to 3 years. Divine says, got my green card a year ago and my permit to travel is denied, but I already traveled. Do I have to answer? A permit to travel, do you mean advanced parole or do you mean a reentry permit? If you got your green card, you got your green card, and that's, I'm not sure. I need to know exactly what happened in your case. We got to talk about that in private. Tom Terrell says, better do the I-130 online through portal or file physical documents. They can't say anyone's better or worse. It's just preference, personal preference. Do certain types of adjustments to application get approved quicker than others? Yeah, if you're married to a U.S. citizen, it's going to get approved. But if you have an employment case that has backlog, then it's different. So it depends on visa. My visa has a pending asylum. My wife has a pending asylum. Can I add her to my app without travel? She hasn't maintained status, so there's a good chance they're going to deny her case. She'll have to do it probably by traveling else processing, and you have to do an I-824 for that. It's going to be a mess. Can same person apply multiple apply for a same person and go which one's faster? It's not impossible. I got to see exactly how you're going to do it, but it might not be worth the money. But I got to say, what you mean is file two different I-130, see which gets faster. Give it a shot. Yeah. Spend the money for it. DB says, stuck in EB to India. What other option I have? I don't know. I'll talk with you in private. Divine says, thanks, attorney. You're welcome. Dupa says, are taking long to approve removal conditions these days? It depends on what you mean by long. 6 months. Yeah, a lot of times definitions of these things are different than people think. For long, for me, immigration, something taking a year or two is not long, but practically it is long, you know. All right, got a lot of questions coming in that are good questions. I appreciate everybody. So removal conditions, for those who don't know, is if you get your green card based on marriage, and when the green card is proved, it's your marriage is less than 2 years old, then you got to apply for removal conditions to keep the 2-year green card. And so there's always paperwork. It's really annoying, but it's there. Sarah says, realistically, I-64 can it be accepted solely by assets? Yeah, we've done that before. I don't like doing it through the embassy, but USCIS. Oh, nice. I-130 can be two for the same person, though? Yeah, you could do that. Very possible. They're just two different cases, but it's nothing. You could do it. Just mention the second one that you already submitted the first one, but that's fine. You just got to be, what's going on with StreamYard? Okay. Miriam says, what vaccines do you need for the medical exam? We have, there's like 8 or 10 of them. We have a detailed list. How could you find it? It's on our website or I-693, or just go to the form. Go type in I-693, and then you'll see the form for USCIS. Go to the next to the last page, and it'll have them there. Now, the doctors may waive a lot of those vaccines. So, for example, if it's say you already have it, or you're too old for it, or it's not safe for you to take, so it doesn't mean you need all of them. But if you want to see the list, go there. That's it. Deb says the person crossed the border, applied for VAWA, can't travel on advanced parole. Person will have. Once you have VAWA approved and the adjustments and advanced parole, you can do it. I don't recommend traveling unless it's emergency though. Dale says, can my brother? I mean, it might have issues that we don't know about. Dale says, can my brother sponsor me? He will be a citizen next year. Brother's 30. He can sponsor you. It's going to take 15, 20 years. But you can't be in the United States. If you overstay, then you could have bar issues and all that kind of stuff. So it gets more complicated. Interpol says, hello, sir. USCIS has received my RFE for support 75 days ago. How long till they respond? Adjustment of status, RFE on I-44. There's no answer to that question. Hopefully sooner, but if a year goes by, it's not unusual, unfortunately. They don't have any timelines or limitations or deadlines for themselves to respond, unlike the deadlines they give us to respond, which is they treat really harshly if you don't meet them. Such is the government. Hey, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? All right. So, some more questions. Paulie says, thanks. You're more helpful than the lawyer firm I pay thousands of dollars for. Thank you, Paulie Todorov. If you can, please leave us a 5-star review on Google. Type in JQK Law, and on Google My Business on the right side. Just leave 5 stars. You don't have to write anything. That helps out a lot. So I appreciate it. Thanks, Paulie. I'm glad I could be of help. Kazi says, hello, sir. I passed my citizenship interview. God bless. Congrats. But told me we need to review your file and mark decision pending. When will I get an oath ceremony? Whenever they, I guess you didn't pass your interview if you need a decision pending. Sorry. So hopefully they'll pass it and they'll give oath ceremony. None of the timelines are clear. Tara says, do you recommend consular processing for Canadians or just file for adjustment of status? If you're in the U.S. and you can do adjustment of status is much faster. It takes forever. And who knows, after the interview, you might get stuck too. So if you're already in the U.S., you're allowed to do adjustment of status, then that's much better for Canada than doing it than not. Maya Jonas, thanks for joining. One of our regulars. That's a better thing to do there. All right, let's take a look at TikTok and see what's going on. I might have some questions. All right, everybody, we've got like 2 more minutes. If you have some last questions, shoot it out. We'll try to do our best to answer them. Adjustment of status is a technical term for if you're inside the United States applying for a green card, whereas if you're outside the United States applying for a green card, you go through consular processing through the embassy. Dupo says, if you and your spouse doesn't file taxes together, would it be a problem with removal conditions? It's not necessarily a problem. They really like to see joint file taxes for removal conditions from I-751, but you just got to compensate with other stuff, and it is what it is. Wynn says, when applying for naturalization, does a cruise to the Caribbean and back count as a trip outside the U.S.? It does, but it's not a big deal, but it would count. A because you're going outside the U.S. as a different country. So that would count as a form. It depends on which Caribbean islands you're going to, but essentially I would consider that you got to mention it just to be safe. But I mean, how long your trip going to be? It's probably a week or less, so that's not a big deal. What is G325? G325 is not a form that typically people use anymore. It was a form that has biographic information about work history and stuff for a foreign applicant, but they don't use it anymore. They just incorporate it into the I-130A. Joe Lama says, how do you handle speeding tickets on M400? You mentioned him and you talk about what happened to him. Tiger says, what does no case found mean in A number? I'm guessing you're looking the EOIR system. It means they never called the person up to immigration court. I'm guessing that's what you mean. So it depends on what context you're speaking about it in. Luis says, been waiting for over 2 years for I-45. Is that normal? It's not abnormal. It also depends on what kind of I-45 you have. Interpol follows up. One more question, please. My I-765 EAD was approved 11 days ago. How long did it get the car? Usually it takes about a week or two to get the car. Sometimes it takes longer. If it takes more than 30 days, call USCIS. And sometimes the post office loses it. User 789 says, can I file for a visitor visa while my wife I-130 is approved and waiting for the interview date? You could try. I mean, it's up to them to see whether they want to approve it, but yeah, give it a shot if you want. Just, fill out the paperwork properly. Natalia says, do you recommend filing for consular processing and come to USA later and file for adjustment status? Consul takes too long. I'm not allowed to recommend someone use a non-immigrant visa with immigrant intent. So I'll just leave it as that. I'm not allowed to give illegal advice. Okay, Natalia, for Canadian, yeah, it's Interpol. You're very much appreciated, Paul. You're welcome, Interpol. Thank you so much. Tiger says, can you request immigration court hearing if it says no case found? No, they have to ask you for immigration court hearing. But you should do a FOIA request probably in your case. Interpol says, any advice for IR1 interview? I need to know more about you, but just have your paperwork together. Really, that's the main thing, and have the answers that you need ready to go. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. As always, we're here 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, Tuesdays. We take your questions live on YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram for general education kind of stuff. If you want to schedule a private consultation, go to jqklaw.com/contact, jqklaw.com/contact, and start a strategy session. Sarah, thank you. Yeah, that's the place to go. And on that site, you just kind of briefly explain what your issue is, see if I can even help you, if it's worth having a consultation. We have paid consultations, so I try to avoid people, signing up if we see it's not something we help with. But having said that, God bless you, safe, and I'll see you all next week.